Hey there, beer lovers, and welcome back to the channel. Now, in this video, you're in for a real hoppin' episode straight from the heart of vibrant San Diego at HomebrewCon, the mecca for all things homebrewed. Now, in this special edition, we've managed to pull in a major treat for you all. I have the brewmaster from the world-renowned Allagash Brewery. Yes, you heard that right. We've got the inside scoop from a trailblazer in the brewing industry. And here he reveals a few secrets from behind the scenes of one of America's most respected craft breweries. Now, if you've ever dreamt with playing around with wild flavors in your brews, you'll really want to lean into this because Jason really gets down into the nitty-gritty of a new fruit that they're working with. It's an intriguing one called honeyberry. Picture this, it's an eclectic taste of blueberry, cherry, raspberry, and even grape. So trust me, you won't want to miss 1 second of this brewing journey. So sit back, crack open a cold one, and let's dive into the art, the science, the passion, and the downright delicious world of brewing.
I am at the 2023 HomebrewCon, and we're just having a blast, and look who I ran into. Former guest on Gourmet Brewing, and we're back at it again. So you guys have been participating in my polls, and it's kind of real time, or it is very real time. So we're going to see, Jason, you ready to see what the question is?
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
All right. 40% of you said, what is the future of Belgian beer? So I'm looking right here in the YouTube channel. So if you want to vote, I'm looking at these real time.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know is my quick answer, but I will.
Well, you got to do better than that.
I will attempt to go a little further than that, but I'm going to back up and talk about like the inspiration that Belgian-style beer provided for American craft beer, for American homebrewers, is so hard to even capture. In terms of like what, the philosophy, I like to think about the philosophy of Belgian-style brewing is outside the box. Yes, there's traditions like Belgian triples, Belgian doubles, Belgian wit beers, but there's also this non-adherence to style that is part of Belgian tradition. The use of barrels, the use of different yeasts, the use of spices, all those things are kind of cornerstones of that tradition. And I think if you go back 30 years, there was none of that in the U.S., zero. Now move to today, there is an unbelievable amount of that, of the creation of new styles. You could come up with probably 10 or 15 styles of beer that exist in the U.S. today that didn't exist 20 years ago. And maybe you can't draw an exact tie to Belgian brewing, but I think you can tie a tangential connection in terms of the kind of creative inspiration that it comes. So I bring that up just because I think that inspiration also led to a little bit of a drop in demand for those beers in the U.S. Because, again, 20 years ago, the demand for a beer that had full flavor and interesting intricacies to it was maybe higher because there was less of them available. And now there is such a range of beers available to the consumer that deliver an experience. So Belgian beer still has its influence here in the U.S., still has its place, but the demand for it isn't what it once was because there's just so many choices.
So you're essentially saying that when the Belgian beers were first brought in, they were so much more flavorful, and essentially the rest of the brewers in the world have caught up with the Belgians, creating flavorful beers.
Well, especially here in the U.S., for sure.
Yeah.
I think the level of creativity of beer styles in the U.S. that both commercial brewers and homebrewers alike are doing is unparalleled. It's amazing what you see today.
But there's some unique, particular yeast characteristics that are not common into most of the U.S. craft beers that are not brewing a Belgian beer. Yeah. So do you see, everything is so yeast forward now, except the lagers.
Right.
But that's a yeast characteristic too in and of itself. Do you see the Belgian yeast then giving a little Belgian characteristic, like a Belgian IPA or some other interesting beers that are quite drinkable and quite flavorful. I don't know that IPAs can claim to be quite drinkable and not like a Belgian with similar characteristics.
Yeah, I mean, I think my opinion on the best Belgian-style beers done well are the ones that keep the beer recipe simple and let that yeast character highlight. So yes, you can make a Belgian-style IPA, and I've had some wonderful versions of it. But for me, the best version of a Belgian yeast-forward beer is something like a triple, or potentially even a wit beer. Where triple's the best example, where you have, if done well, real simplicity of recipe. You know, typically one grain, maybe one hop, and then this yeast character that really drives the beer, makes a very simple beer have a lot of complex character. So I think that's where, to me, the triple is the best kind of epitome of yeast character from Belgian-style beers.
So I keep trying to figure out why a Belgian Saison is not craft beer's answer to seltzers. To me, you know, a low ABV Saison, brewed well, is way better than any seltzer. Why can we not do that? Is it a marketing problem? They don't have the appeal marketing-wise?
That's a great question. I don't honestly know, but I see where you're going here. I mean, you know, Saisons, when done well, are so dry, easy to drink, great for a sunny day like today.
Yep.
But I'm not really sure why. I wish I did.
Oh, well, I love a good Saison. Well, let's see what other questions we've got there. The number 30% is, what is the recipe for Allagash White?
Well, you know I can't tell you that, but
Well, you can.
I know I can. I mean, I can tell you the bulk of it, and actually, even on our website, it's listed. We've publicized homebrew versions of it before, and so you know, I can't give you a 5-gallon recipe off the top of my head, but
Well, that's all right.
But yeah, I mean, the recipe in
Well, could you if I emailed you?
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll get the recipe.
And we've done that before. We've provided that in other venues before, but you know, it's you know, the recipe it's roughly 40% wheat, but that for us, that's a mix of unmalted and malted wheat.
Wow.
Our malted wheat is red wheat.
Yeah.
Our unmalted wheat is white. All our unmalted wheat, for the most part, comes from Maine. There's a portion of oats in there as well. Between the oats and the wheat, it's about 50% of the overall grain bill is non-barley.
Yep.
And then, of course, our malted barley. Our blend of malted barley is kind of our own proprietary mix, but it's more or less it works its way color-wise towards a Pilsner, but it's got a little bit of pale malt in it as well. So it's a blend of pale and Pilsner malt, because we want the color to be low. One thing that's really important about to do a wit beer style well, you want that color to be nice and low. So using straight up pale malt, you'll get a darker color. Darker color translates into that beautiful white haze that you see, turns into kind of a murky look if you have too much darker malt in there. We use a little bit of Carapils from Brees, great malt for body, and that's a portion of the grain bill as well. Coriander and orange peel, cornerstones of the beer style. Coriander type is really important. The kind we use is a lot more citrus forward, less kind of spicy forward. We have a secret spice. That's a secret spice, so I can't tell you what it is. But that's kind of not all wit beers had that historically, but it's kind of a historical piece to wit beer style, is to have a secret spice.
Well, can you, without saying its name, can you describe its characteristics so we could at least hope we might find that thing?
It's spicy.
Spicy. Wow. Allspice.
We have very few secrets, but that's one of them.
That's one of them. Okay. We won't ask you to reveal that one.
Yeah.
So is that it? What about anything unique about the fermentation and the yeast?
So yeast is one of our other few secrets. It is our own house yeast that we use. It's the same yeast we use in triple. So I can say for a home brewer, if you want to brew with our yeast, just buy yourself a bottle of white or a can of white and propagate it up. Well, all that beer, those beers are always packaged with a little bit of our primary yeast strain.
Yep.
We do, the yeast strain we use does, and wood beer strains tend to do this a little bit. They do produce a fair bit of sulfur. So sulfur is, H2S, hydrogen sulfide, is a really important component of the beer, flavor and mouthfeel-wise. But if it gets too high, it basically smells like farts, and you don't want that, obviously. So that's an important component to control. And one of the key ways we control that is allowing for a natural rising fermentation. Because hydrogen sulfide is pretty volatile aroma.
How warm does it get?
Oh, we don't get super warm. I mean, the highest we get is 68 Fahrenheit, so not super warm.
Oh, that's not much, yeah.
But we start low. We start around 64 and let it warm up.
Yep.
And healthy fermentation. Like if the yeast isn't healthy, it produces more sulfur. If it's healthy, it produces it but drives it off. The vigorous nature of the fermentation will kind of solve your hydrogen sulfide problems for us.
Chris White must have been talking, because I did an interview with him not too long ago today, and that was the same thing he was stressing.
Yeah.
If you want great beer, you've got to really make sure that yeast
100%.
has the nutrients, the oxygen, but just look at it as something you really need to give it all the nutrition that it needs.
So important, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and last but not least, at Allagash, are there any experimental flavors coming?
Oh man, we have so much experimentation at the brewery. It's hard to even capture it all in a simple answer, but we do. We have a small pilot system that we use.
Yep.
It's a homebrew system, basically, nice homebrew system, and that thing is running a couple days a week. We have a program at the brewery where we take ideas from everybody in the company. So no matter who you are, no matter what your position is at the brewery, you're kind of encouraged to submit an idea for the pilot program.
Okay.
And it's basically where all our innovation comes from. So instead of myself or a couple of our brewing team coming up with beer ideas, it's literally the whole company. So that's really what drives our new recipe formulation. But there's also another component of that we just call R&D, where we're experimenting with different yeast strains, experimenting with different hops, different hop kind of products and different hop types, barrel aging. I mean, it's really hard to capture. There's a ton going on. If I know we're out here in California, but anyone on the East Coast, just come by the brewery anytime and you'll see there's always 4, 5, 6, 7 things available only at the brewery, either on draft or to go or both.
Is there one that's your sweetheart right now? Your go-to?
That's a good question. I've been really enjoying. So we have kind of clean beers, of course, and then wild beers. And we play in both realms. And there's a fruit that we've been working with recently that I've been pretty excited about. Has a variety of names. Haskip, it's referred to as. Honeyberry is another word that it's referred to as.
Honeyberries?
Honeyberry. It's a relatively new fruit for us to work with. We've been using it the last couple of years.
What does it look like?
It's an interesting. It's really hard to describe, actually. It's kind of rectangular like almost in shape.
Yeah.
It's about this big. Flavor is kind of like a blueberry. It's kind of like a cherry. It's kind of like a raspberry. It's familiar yet different. It's got a tannic character to it as well, so it's kind of grape-like in that respect. And what it provides in our wild beer is something like we've never experienced before. And again, it's familiar, so it's not like weird per se, but it's still very, very different than anything else. So we've got a couple beers available at the store right now that are with that honeyberry.
Well, the cool thing is, and I wish you'd kind of describe what we're doing and the crowd that we see, there's actually more behind us than there is or on this side of us. So you're at HomebrewCon.
Correct, yeah.
And you're also on the Brewers Association board.
Correct, yeah.
Can you describe kind of what's going on and how you happened to end up at HomebrewCon? Because it's cool to have a pro brewer like you at such a well-known brewery to show up at HomebrewCon.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an amazing collection of home brewers here. And this is yes, it's home brewers here, but this is where I started It's where so many craft breweries started with homebrewing first and then decided to try to do it for a living. So it's pretty awesome to see all these folks here who are, here. No one's paying their way here, right? Like that's the Craft Brewers Conference. A lot of those people go to that conference. Their companies are paying it. This is just enthusiasts, which is amazing to see that people take time out of their own lives and take money out of their own wallets to come and hang out in this crowd. It's pretty awesome.
Well, this is fantastic. Look forward to, hopefully we can do a live stream sometime, because you were a big hit. And maybe we can get some more details. Maybe you'll tell us what that secret ingredient is.
No, never.
No, never. All right. Jason, thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Thoroughly enjoy it. We appreciate AHA, and I'll speak for that. I'm governing committee. Thank you for the Brewers Association and their help for AHA. And what a great event, and it's so great for you to be here.
Happy to be here.
All right.
Thanks, Doug.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it, folks. I thought this was a riveting journey through the world of craft brewing with brewmaster Jason Perkins of Allagash Brewery. I just love his passion, knowledge of intriguing things like honeyberries, and of course that elusive secret ingredient. Did you pick up on any clues? What do you think that secret ingredient might be? How about dropping your best guesses in the comments below? I'd love to hear your ideas, and maybe we can figure out what this is. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to give us a big thumbs up if you've not done so already. So until next time, stay curious, keep experimenting, and who knows, you might just stumble upon your own secret ingredients. Cheers and happy brewing.